Hi, I'm Kizzy from Kizzykreations and welcome to my first YouTube video. So in this video, I have decided to pick up a new hobby, doll customizing. I don't know how I haven't found this sooner. I think I've been watching it now for a year and a half, and I first started watching it on Facebook and now I'm watching it on YouTube. So I have shown my mom the videos as well and she looked very interested in it. So I took a Monster High Clawdeen wolf doll, and my mom loves anything cactus related, and so I decided to take her and turn her into a cactus doll. Now, I did have some technical issues. I lost some footage, my hard drive got corrupt, I changed scenes a bunch of times, my camera angles were all off, so please bear with me. I'm gonna try better in the next video. But let me not talk your ear off. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I would love to hear what you guys are thinking, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later. I have already prepped the doll and am now shrinking the doll head with the slow shrinking method. For this being my first doll, I ran into a couple of issues. The skin tone here, I tried to do a neutral tone to be able to get the green by just having pastel colors, but that did not go so well. So I ended up having to paint the doll green with regular acrylic paint, and then this is just the process before I tried that. I started prepping some white yarn to do the reroot. My very first reroot was a little tough, but it's doable. Also, sorry for the camera angle. I keep going out of frame, but I will work on that. She's kind of looking like a troll because I didn't have the right brush to brush out the yarn, but we ended up making it work. I then took some glue to fill into the doll head to keep the rerooted hair in place. I blushed the doll with highlighting colors first, and then I went in with the darker chalks. I then went in with some watercolor pencils. I used the ones I already had, but I quickly realized that they were not going to cut it, so I invested in some Prismacolor pencils. I was super nervous to start this face up, and I think I put it off for about a week. I had no inspiration for this face up, and I just decided to go with the flow. The white color pencil I was using before would not show up no matter how many layers I did, so this Prismacolor pencil gave me hope in this project again. I almost gave up. I honestly have no idea where I even got those pencils that I was using before, but I threw them out. They don't work. Because I had no inspiration for this face up, I decided to look up cactus flowers and the colors they could come in. I leaned into a green eye color with hints of vibrant yellow and orange. I colored the eyes with the lightest color first, that way I could build the colors up without having to work around the darkest colors. I then started to add dimension to the eyes. I took multiple colors of green to allow for more of a gradient instead of having one static color. I then tried to add some realistic features to the eyes. I began working on the lips, and I was going for a dark liner for the outline of the lips and ombreing it into the middle with the same colors I used for the eyes. Before I started adding the strokes to the eyebrows, I lightly dusted a lighter brown color of chalk to allow the darker strokes to be more prominent. And then just to add a little bit more definition, I used a black pencil. I tried to achieve an eyebrow look that was feathered but still had a nice shape. I felt the eyes looked incomplete, so I added a little bit of eyeliner and then I moved on to the lashes. I forgot to press record, but I did a little bit more highlighting and a little bit more blushing because I feel like she looked a little dull. Just adding a little bit of finishing touches on the lips and then moving on to the eyeshadow. I'm still getting used to recording while I'm working, clearly, because I already did one eye. But here I'm just adding a gradient, kind of like an ombre from yellow to green to orange for her eyeshadow colors. I'm not sure if I achieved this, but I tried to add a little bit of creasing under her eyes, like she's slightly smirking, but I'm not sure. Here I'm just adding a little bit of freckles just to tie in the look. Now this part, I literally felt like I had to hold my breath. These eyelashes were a pain, but I ended up getting them down. I decided to use a little bit of acrylic paint just to make the eyelashes a little more prominent and a little bit more sharp. So here is the finished face up. I wanted to make her eyes shiny, but I don't have any gloss varnish, so I will need to purchase it in the future. It is time to do her hairstyle, and once I took off her cover wrap, I noticed a little bit of color that wasn't applied, so I did go back and fix it so you can't see the previous color I had before. So I gave her hair a good brush so I have a good foundation, and I just started parting it just to see what kind of hairstyle I was thinking. I also did add a little bit of pink chalk to add some ombre effect to her hair. It wasn't set in stone exactly what I wanted to do, so I kind of just pulled out some face framing pieces and then tried to do maybe a half up, half down style, and then I just kind of went from there. I added a bit of gel to the hair so it could stay in place since I didn't have hairspray. It was very hard keeping the doll in frame, so I did do the rest of the hairstyle off camera. I sanded down the seams as well as the body so then I could have a textured surface to apply the epoxy. I used some sandpaper to get the towel off that stuck to the neck due to some MSC. I then took a nail buffer to smooth out the surface better. Then I just continued to buff the body with the nail buffer. The doll was now buffed and I would wash her down with some water. Now it was time to glue the joints in place so that I can use epoxy to make the joints look more realistic and allow me to place her in her final position. This was my first time working with epoxy, so I just took my time filling and covering the joints, trying my best to leave a smooth surface to allow for an easier sanding session. By watching many videos on epoxy, I learned that using water to smooth out the epoxy is easier. I also used a Q-tip to smooth out those small to reach areas. My mom didn't want any body modifications, so I just kind of left her as is, and then I started working on sanding after smoothing her. Then I just took my time sanding a lot to make sure that I had a smooth surface to be able to start blushing and paint. I did have a couple of bumps, but I did try my best, so I will work on sanding longer the next time. I used my Dremel to make small indentations around the body on her ankles, her thighs, and also her back so I could add cactus spikes later. Please don't mind my disgusting nails, but here I just decided to add a lighter paint color on her palms and her feet so then I could add some kind of highlight to her body before blushing. When starting on this body blushing, I was a little nervous because I realized how dark the paint actually was to go lighter with chalks. I'm not sure if I have the right chalks, so I might have to invest in some new ones, but I did have to layer a lot to get the lighter colors to show up to add the blushing. But I didn't get discouraged because I used my MSC a lot and then it finally started showing through. You can see this is after a couple of layers of body blushing, so I had to keep building it up. So I lost the footage of me blushing this doll a little bit more, so this is what I have now. My external hard drive got corrupt, so this is what we have, and I hope you understand. After trying to get the light yellow and the light green to show up, I decided to try a brown to surround it, kind of like a contour, just to have some more dimension to it, because I felt like with just what I was getting out of the lighter colors, it wasn't enough. So this one added a pop once I did the MSC. Don't mind the tripod in the way, but after a couple layers of more blushing, this girl is ready for MSC. So we're gonna come back to the doll, but right now we're gonna work on the base. So I took some foil and I covered a styrofoam ball, and then I'm going to cover it with some clay so I have a base to work with. So now that the ball is covered, I took some clay and I rolled it up very thin so they're just small lines, and I'm going to lay them, and they kind of look like pumpkins right now, but I'm going to lay them in a certain way and I'm going to build them up to make them look more like little cactuses. So here's what it's looking like. All I have to do now is just paint it and then add some texture and some little details like lighter paint to make it look more realistic. And then I have to add the spikes to it as well. So just a quick paint, and then I'll paint the tops of both of them because I have made a little one as well. And I made some indentations on the sides just so I can fit the spikes a little bit better. So now I'm just trying to dry brush it as much as I can to get some detail in there, fine detail. And then I also painted the tops with a little lighter color just so I can add the little detail with the texture later. This is what they're looking like, and now it's time to add the spikes. I just cut toothpicks up really small, and then if I had any remaining of the toothpick, I would Dremel it just to make it pointy again so I wasn't wasting. And then I'm just gonna take super glue and then just place it on the little divots that I made to make it look like cactus spikes. So I took a plastic pot and then I laid it with aluminum foil, and then I added a whole bunch of tacky glue, and I just kept making layers of dirt to make it build up all the way to the top. And then I'm going to place the cactus on top, and then that is going to be the base for the doll. So while we let the dirt dry in the pot, I took some clay, and it's air drying clay, and I made it into little balls. And I took this tool and I made indentations and pressed down into the clay to make little flower petals. And then I took a wire and I laid a ball of the clay on top of the wire with the super glue, and then I just super glued the petals onto the ball, and I kind of used my Dremel to make them look more petal like if they were a little deformed. But I made about 3 of these flowers, and so all we have to do now is paint them. So I took inspiration from that cactus flower that I had looked up previous. So these are the colors that I ended up picking. So I was thinking about doing a yellow middle, and then I was gonna take little white dots to make like little buds on top, and then the pink flower, and then the outer edge is gonna be a dark pink. This is also just the first layer of the flowers, so I will be sticking more of the petals on and then painting the outer layer with that dark pink. Here are the finished flowers. So there's one giant one. I actually made 4. I thought I made 3, but I made 4. So these will be placed on that base very soon. But now we're gonna jump to me assembling it with the cactuses. Sorry for the continuation error, but here I took the base. It's just a wood block that my mom had cut for me into a circle. So I took some rocks and I laid them out with Elmer's glue just to make it look a little fancier, like there is a garden with rocks. So I placed some rocks, I placed some fuzzy miniature bushes that I got on Amazon, and I just started assembling. Also, don't mind the scene. I was currently camping and I didn't want to stop my project, so I brought y'all with me. Again with the continuation error because you see the doll, but this is what the base is starting to look like. So I was just trying to see how I wanted to place her, and then I had to drill a hole in the bottom of her so I could have her sit comfortably. And then also I was adding that little cactus as well, so I just took hot glue and then just secured it to the base. So once I got back from camping, I started working on her spikes that are gonna go on her body. So I took a small clay ball and then I just rolled it in between my hand and my finger just to get a point going, and then a flat surface on the other side. And once I thought it was long enough, I took scissors and I just snipped it from the back just so I could have a flat surface. And then this is how I was going to place it on the doll. So now it is time to make the wings. So I actually learned this trick from Cat Studio. So first I drew out my wing design on a plastic bag, like a Ziploc, and then I just taped it to a board that I had. So then I took a thin wire that's flexible enough for me to place it on the top of the wing so I have something to grip onto with my resin. This is the resin that I found on Amazon that had good reviews, so I went with this one. I just made sure that my wire was lined up on both of the wings on the top, so then I was ready to pour the resin. Now, I'm not sure why I thought that all of this design was going to work after I poured the resin, but I did end up making little details by painting and then dremeling around the edges to make the curvatures of the wing, because these lines are not easy to make. So then I just cured them with my UV lamp to make sure that everything was solidified. So this is when I took the Dremel and just cleaned up the edges. Since I had a little bit of remaining dirt from the pot, I decided to sprinkle a little bit into the resin and then re-cure it just to add a tiny bit of textured look to the wings, and then also just add some kind of flair to it. So here are the wings finished. So I just added a little bit of design on the inside with a little bit of brown paint, and then I put another layer of resin to kind of look like it was in the middle, and then I added a green stripe on each of the top of the wings. So I actually made a skinny cactus off camera, and I'm dry brushing it right now just so it can look unison with the other ones. And then I also add a touch of the tiny bushes that I got, and just to add some flair to them, and I also added it to the other cactuses as well. Now it's time to just place the cactus onto the base like the other ones. So I just made a hole in the base and then left some wire hanging out of the small cactus just so it has something to grip into, and then I'm just using a hot glue gun to place the cactus. Here are the tiny bushes that I was talking about, so I'm just going to take my hot glue gun and then place them around the base. Not that you can see anything anyways, because I put my hot glue gun in the way. I'm so sorry. So now all that's left for these cactuses is just add the bushes to them. And here I'm just cutting them to make them look more clean. I decided that I kind of wanted to make this cactus look like a little cushion that her feet were resting on. So I decided to cut up a little bit of yarn that was brushed out and then just put Elmer's glue on the cactus and then place the yarn on top just to make it look like it's softer. And so then I just was going to place her foot on there to make it look like a foot cushion. Now I'm going to take my drill so I can make a hole in this top cactus, and then I'm going to also make a hole in the bottom of the doll, so then I can put a wire in between them and then have her sit on there without her falling over. So here's what the stand is looking like so far. This was a little hard to film, but basically I took resin and I dipped my spikes into the resin and then I just cured it, and that's how I put all the spikes on for her. I also decided that her top area was looking a little, so I ended up just cutting a bunch of the bushes and then just sprinkling on the remaining to make it look like she had some kind of top on. So this is kind of the process that I was doing to put the spikes on. So basically I would just try to balance it and then I would cure it with my UV flashlight. Now I'm just putting the wire in so then I can place her on the stand. But just before that, to make it easier for myself to be able to reach, I started placing the flowers and the petals on the base. Miss Lady's wings are ready to put in, so we put them in with super glue, and I did make a second pair of wings, so I will be placing those as well. I just did them off camera. Finally, we're able to take off her plastic wrap to be able to see her hair, her face, and then place her on the stand. Everybody say hi, Mom. I also felt like she was missing something in her lower area as well, so I kind of made like a yarn underwear thingy. I'm not sure what it's called. I actually lost a lot more footage than I thought I did, but I made these tiny cactus pots and these little flowers to go on top of her hands. So I made the cactus pot exactly how I was making everything else with the same clay. It was really delicate and tiny to make, but super fun. I wish I had footage of that, but I will do a zoom in so you guys can see it. I was just gonna use the ones that I bought. You can see them on the table, but I decided against that because I wanted to make everything homemade. But she's basically done, so now I can just show you guys the final look.